just because you have the genetics doesn't mean that it's over.
Yeah.
You just have to work harder.
Yep.
You have to put in the extra effort. You have to want it more than the guy that's genetically gifted. I like sports. Coming from the Reds, I love basketball. And the NBA is one of those things, like NBA, college. I'm always watching basketball. I watch high school basketball. And one thing I noticed is that high school, you could just be a genetic freak. Right? You got God-given ability without even training your legs or having a jump program or anything else.
Yeah.
As opposed to like maybe another kid who's just average or maybe even below average. He has to get in the gym. He has to put in, all these hours in the weight room, and he has to run and he has to work on his jumping, right? He's doing box jumps and he's doing squats, and he's just trying to put an inch on his vertical, as opposed to this other kid who's just got it made. He's like, yeah, I got a 40-inch vertical just doing nothing. There's a lot of kids like that. And so they think that they could just keep progressing by doing nothing.
Yep.
And then so that kid ends up like going to college. Now everybody's got a 40-inch vertical.
Yeah.
Not only is everybody just as gifted as he is, but they're in the gym working on their vertical. They're in there doing box jumps. They're in there doing squats.
Yeah.
They're doing this whole jump program, and they're working on their skills. They're working on their dribbling and their shooting, and then they're doing run. They're working out 3 times a day.
Yep.
And then they go even higher than what their genetic gifts gave them.
Yep.
10 or so years ago, I watched this dunk contest. It was the NCAA college dunk contest and three-point shootout. This kid from Cincinnati won it, and he jumped from the free throw line and did like between the legs dunk, right? It was just ridiculous. I'm like, oh my God. Like everybody else jumping from the free throw line. Like MJ kind of made it look easy. He brought it down by his shoulder, side of his head, and then he dunked it. Right, that was cool.
Yeah,
I seen Josh Smith from the Atlanta Hawks in a dunk contest. He jumped from the free throw line and did a windmill, and that was crazy. But then this kid from Cincinnati, he did a between the legs dunk, jumping from the free throw line, and he jumped over something. It was crazy. This guy had amazing hops, right? Just ridiculous, God-given, hops. This guy became a nobody. I don't even know who this guy was, and he didn't make it in the NBA.
It's one of the things, man. I always, I hate to be, like the negative guy sometimes, but I'm like, my one thing I always say is, well, see what he does in college.
Yeah,
like it's easy to shine in high school, man. Like, no offense, I was like, but I mean, a lot of these kids, they don't put in the amount of work that they need to.
Yeah,
but like, and that guy was the one guy who, either had really, was really gifted. But the thing is, like, it's easy to outwork the gifted guys sometimes on other things. Like, I may not be able to, like, jump as high as you. I was like, but I'm going to outwork you, and you're going to get tired.
Yeah.
And I'm not, So that was one of the things about wrestling, is it teaches you, like, you can't rely on your gifts. When that third period hits, your gifts are gone. You got, it's going to come down to who has a tougher metal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, like I always say, is like, well, let's see what he does in college, and like and sometimes, shoot, man, you forget that they played, you know what I mean, and it sucks, but that's why I think it's super important for these, like we were just talking a little bit ago, these parents to really get involved with their kids' development. Yeah, say if this is what you really want to do, then this is what we got to do, and it takes the parents to really help, push that, because then. Kids are kids, man. They want to have fun. They want to do their thing. You're always going to be these other things you want to do. Summer's there. And summer is when people, like, champs are made, and like you see kids, they play basketball all year round.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's super important to develop that, especially in the kids that have gifts. It's kind of like, I'm a gifted basketball player, but I'm still going to work my butt off.
Yeah.
I'm those kids, I'm excited to see them in college. I want to see them get pushed, I want to see them, like, really try to, because they're like B class. Yeah. So I mean that's even tougher. They have an even tougher mountain to climb coming out of class B. I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just they're really going to have to really push hard. They're going to have to push hard and develop. And they're not even big dudes.
No,
they're not big guys.
So like my thing to that, you have two kids. Okay, one's average, below average, and then the other kid is God-given abilities. He's fast, he's big, he's strong, and then the other one's kind of, average body. He's not too strong, not too fast. He's right there about average, below average. And the other kid's like top tier in terms of high school kids, right? He's bigger, stronger, faster. Well, you see this big, strong, fast kid, he thinks like, okay, yeah, I'm the best, so I'm not really going to train that much, right? I'm just going to show up to practice and be good. The other kid is like, I got to put in extra work. I got to get in a weight room. I got to wake up early and get my workout in and get my stretching in, and I got to work on my diet, and stuff like that. And he starts to come up just a little bit. And then this guy comes down just a little bit because he's not putting in the work. And then this guy's like, has like some friends are like, oh man, let's go smoke some weed. Let's go to this party. And then he starts to get into that stuff. And then this guy stays sober. On the weekends, he's watching the games, right? He's trying to get better, trying to figure out how to get better. And then, eventually his game starts to go up. He's working on his skills. By the time they're in college, they're like equals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This guy had to put in the work to be this strong. This guy didn't put in any work to be that strong. And then they get to college, and this guy goes to the parties. He doesn't put in all the extra effort. And this guy still has that same mentality. He's still learning. He's learning from all these new coaches. He's learning all these new skills, and he's putting in all the work, right? And then by the time they're senior years, this guy dropped out, and this guy's a starter on the team, becomes All-American. Just because you have the genetics doesn't mean that it's over.
Yeah.
You just have to work harder.
Yep.
You have to put in the extra effort. You have to want it more than the guy that's genetically gifted. So when I went to high school, it was NAIA ball, and my roommate, he was a basketball player. And so like basketball players are coming to the room and watching game film, right? It's part of their homework, their team, they have DVDs of the team that they play tomorrow. So they're breaking down the defenses, right? Like all these guys, they're good. But you could tell, like, they were probably average. I mean, above average high school basketball players, but, I mean, they're at high school.
Yeah. So
they weren't really, like, top tier, Yeah. So they're in at NAIA, but these guys, man, they're in it, right? They might as well be in the NBA right now. Like, they're going to all the training, all the workouts. They do all the recovery stuff, and they're studying game film on themselves and their opponents. And you're like, oh, my God, these guys are smart, Yep. That's why when I watch an NBA game with them, I'm like, man, I've never watched basketball like this before. You know what I mean?
And what's cool about those guys that have to work harder is they're so much more coachable.
Oh, yeah, big time.
So much more coachable.
And that makes all the difference on the team, man. You got guys that have heart like that.
Yeah.
And then so after 1 year, right, coming into the fall semester, there was two players, and they're from Montana, right? And this kid, he went to Busby. He's same age as me, class of 2006. This kid, I remember he scored like 76 points in a tournament game in Lodgegrass one time. And it was crazy. He was throwing it off the backboard, catching it, dunking it. He did a between the legs dunk. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is crazy good, This guy's super good. He was averaging like 30 points a game. And then the other kid, when he was in junior high, he was dunking it up at Harlem, Fort Belknap. This guy was good, man. Man, in high school, same thing, just like Preston, super freak, God-given abilities, right? And then during one of their practices, AJ did a 360 between the legs dunk. You know what I mean? These two Montana boys are just freaks of nature, right? So they did the tryout thing, right? Of course, you have the guys that are already on the team and everything, but then they also have open tryouts for JV guys to get on the varsity team.
Yeah.
And then for other people that want to do walk-ons and stuff. And these guys didn't even make the team. As gifted as they were, right? I mean, res ball, they were good. They're scoring all these points, against all these farmers, right? All the Class B, Class C schools. These are farmers that you're playing against. These ain't these kids in the city putting in work. Have basketball goals everywhere. Have open gym here, open gym there. Go to this, and you know what I mean. Like you're going against farmer kids, right? And you're scoring all these points against these farmer kids. And you're able to dunk it and you're able to do all this stuff, right? But you don't put in the extra effort.
Yeah.
You want to get drunk every time, every weekend. You want to smoke weed all through the week. You want to drink pop and eat junk food. right? You're getting away with it now, Class B, Class C, right? Yeah. But when you get to any college level, you got a bunch of guys that are better than you.
Yeah.
They probably can't jump as high as you. They probably can't shoot an open three as good as you, but they know how to box out. They know how to play defense. They know how to set picks. They know how to pass. They understand what the defense is doing, what their offense is doing, right? They figured you out. Yeah, okay, you're good, but you're really not. You know what I mean?
That's what I always say. Well, let's see what they do in college. If they make the team.
If they make the team.
Then they're not big no more. They're not bigger no more. Like you said, for basketball, 6'5" isn't really that tall.
Yeah.
6'6" and 6'7" is really optimal height, but it doesn't mean it's the end of the road. Like when you get into college and you have these super athletic big dudes that are putting in work, it's like, oh, yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
that's so tough, man. Like big dudes that are athletic, and busting their ass, because they know it's their future, and they're willing to put it all on the line, hoping that their bodies go through this and don't, take a shit on them in college, you know what I mean? Because that's their plan A, you know what I mean? And they don't have a plan B. I mean, that's a tough thing to compete with, especially like in football when you got these guys that are just, they know everything. And I don't think linemen get a lot of credit, that they should be getting. But we were talking, the smartest guy in the field, is a center in the line. He's got to be able to see everything. You know what I mean? And I like watching Jeff Schwartz's stuff because he's always posting stuff on linemen. And I love it. I think it's awesome because when they create that hole and things come together, that's when you get to be excited about a running back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Saquon Barkley was one of the biggest prospects to come in the NFL.
Yeah,
but what has he done? Everything, all that work has to come coming together, and and it's on team sports, it's even tougher because you got to rely on everything, on everybody to come together. But shoot, man, the amount of work. Some people just can't do it. They're just not into it. Those gifted athletes, you have to condition them to be ready for a workload that's going to want to make them quit, but they don't, cause then, man, I've made so many athletic guys quit on the mat.
Yeah.
Just by pressuring them. And I don't think I'm super athletic. I don't think I'm not athletic, but I've seen some dudes that are my size that can do any sport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't do every sport because my coordination's horrible, but I've made people quit just because I know how to pressure on them and I can outwork them a little bit.
Yeah.
So, it's I think it was Bruce Lee that said it. Said it's eventually it's going to come down to your attributes, and I think my best point how I prove that is Matt Hughes and Hoist Gracie. With their jiu-jitsu, Hoist Gracie's jiu-jitsu was so much better than Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes is high level, but Hoist Gracie's, that's Hoist Gracie.
Yeah.
But then you add on strength, and they almost meet up. Then you add on endurance, and then you add on fight IQ, and then you add on all these other attributes. And then now you're looking for Hoist Gracie to submit this guy who's so much stronger, so much more conditioned, who knows jiu-jitsu, also has wrestling, also has striking, also has all this other stuff. And watching Hoist fight back in the day against these guys that didn't have all those attributes, Hoist looked like this world beater, Yeah. And then he fights Matt, who's younger, stronger, faster, and Matt just handles this guy and, kind of shatters this aura that was around Hoist, because it was a stoppage in the first round. No, was it the second round? What was the first round? You look at Matt Hughes and you just see hard work. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that Hoist doesn't work hard, but you mean the amount of, because you're looking at a Iowa farm boy wrestler, and I was like, oh, that guy he probably loves hard work. He probably just wakes up in the morning and just says, I'm gonna go bust my ass, and before he even puts on his day clothes, you know what I mean? So. Guys like that will work hard. And another thing was even with Matt Hughes, when he fought BJ Penn, who's one of the most gifted fighters, a natural fighter, the first time BJ Penn beat him, submitted him. And then the second time Matt Hughes beat BJ Penn, because BJ Penn was thinking, oh, I've already beat this guy, and he wasn't busting his butt. He was living in Hawaii. He wasn't doing all the things Matt did. Matt just upped his game more, worked harder, and beat BJ. And then BJ started working hard in their third fight and knocked Matt Hughes out in like 15 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like when these guys who are giftedly, like naturally gifted, and they start busting their butt, they become champs, you know, and they start matching that workload. So I think it's super important to teach your kids how to work hard. Yeah. You know, because I don't know where like with my son, I don't know where Dominic's at with wrestling yet, because he's only 5. But I mean, we were working the other day at the gym, and we had like some older people in there. They were working out. I'm like, and they were like, kept like talking, you know, like, that kid can work hard. I'm like, yeah. I was like, he's like, is he a wrestler? I'm like, yeah. I was like, we're not sure if he's going to compete this year or not. I was like, but he loves to work. He comes in here, he knows what he's going to do. As soon as I put on his wrestling shoes, he starts warming up, does his bear crawls, his army crawls, and he gets to work. And I was like, so as long as I instill in his mind that, you know, hard work is going to be a daily thing and you can't be afraid of it, then everything else should come pretty naturally to him, whether he's a natural gifted wrestler or not. Right. He's going to know what hard work is, and he's not going to be afraid of it.
Yeah. You know, no matter where you are, whether it's your job or your school or your sport, you know, there's people that are just seem like they make it look easy. These God-given abilities that they have are just, you know, amazing. But that doesn't mean that it's over for you. You just got to put in the work. You have to figure out how to break the game down, break the sport down, and figure out what skills that you have to develop that'll make you successful. Constantly figuring out what your weaknesses are and turn those into strengths. And focus on every little detail, you know, especially with sports, you know, like, man, you could stop drinking pop and get better. You know, you could stop smoking weed and get better. You could stop drinking beer and get better. Going to bed early, waking up early, you know, getting more training in. You know, there's all steps that you could put in that'll make you better. The nurture part is, to me, the biggest, because we say genetics. We say nature is bigger. But nurture, man, I'm telling you, you could achieve anything that you want to, no matter what it is. You want to lose 100 pounds, you could lose 100 pounds. You want to put 50 pounds of muscle on, you could do that. You have that ability to do that. It just takes work. It takes dedication. Having that discipline to do the things that suck, you know, do the things that you don't want to do. Like waking up in the morning sucks. Eating rice and chicken is like the worst, you know? But if you chase pleasure your whole life,
I felt that just
now. You know, like you have to delay that pleasure for a second and do the stuff that sucks, you know? It's doing that stuff, man. It's doing the stuff that's hard, doing the stuff that sucks, you know, that's the stuff that's going to make you better.
You got some dopamine this morning.
Yeah.
The win. That was a win.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a win. Yeah, pulling in. I got here right at 9 a.m. Yep. You know, like everything, man. Like we've succeeded. We got our podcast in. Man, nature is not better than nurture. You know, you can put in the work and you can achieve the things that these people with God-given abilities have. You know what I mean? Like I always compare it to a bench press. I always told myself that I could never bench press 400 pounds. I was struggling just to get to 300 pounds. And then you have kids walking in off the street, pushing up 4 plates. Like, what the heck? You know what I mean? It's just not fair. It's all about genetics and steroids. That's the only way you can bench press 400 pounds. But, man, I achieved it, man. I did it without steroids. I did it without the genetics. And I had to go extra. I had to put extra effort into my sleep, into my diet, into my training, into my stretching, my technique. I had to attend online seminars and read books and buy books and watch every YouTube video, every seminar I possibly can to get every single ounce of knowledge out there. And I put it all together. And it took me a couple years, but now I could bench press 405 pounds any day of the week. I could do it on my bad day. And if you would have told me this 5 years ago, I would have been like, no, you can't do it without steroids. You can't do it without genetics, you know, but you can, man. You just got to put in the work. You got to put in.
Don't choose between working harder and smarter. Just work harder and smarter.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We all have gifts. You know, everybody has their gifts. Everybody has weaknesses. And maximize those gifts that you have, those strengths that you have. But then also building on your weaknesses, it makes you that much better, you know? Like if you're a basketball player and you can't dribble with your left hand, start dribbling more with your left hand. It'll make you twice as good, you know? If you're a fighter, like you're favoring one side or favoring one skill over the others, you know, start working on the other stuff, you know, working on your ground game, working on your striking, working on, you know what I mean? There's so many things to work on. There's so many things to maximize on. You just got to put in the effort. And it's not going to happen if you're sitting in front of a video game or in front of a TV on a couch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to put in that work. You have to want it. It has to be more than wanting to look good or wanting to get the credit or get pride and stuff. You know, you got to put in that work and find something within yourself that says like, man, I'm going to achieve this before I die. Before I leave this earth, I'm going to achieve this.